I drove 6 hours to deliver my dad a birthday gift he'd never forget, courtside tickets to the Lakers finals. I imagined the moment over and over, his face lighting up, the disbelief, the pride, a lifelong fan. He used to talk about those seats like they were a fantasy, something only real men could afford. Well, I had become one, apparently. I built my business from nothing, freelance gig after gig, working through illness, debt, and burnout. For once, I wanted to give him something that said, I remember the rides to practice. I remember the games we watched on mute so mom could sleep. I wanted to give back. Big mistake. Dinner was supposed to be simple, just family, steak, cake, and then the surprise. I slid the gold-foiled envelope across before dessert. He opened it, brows furrowing in confusion before shooting up in disbelief. No way, he muttered. Courtside, he said louder, holding them up like trophies. My uncle clapped me on the back. Mom's jaw dropped. My cousin asked if they were real. And for the first time in years, I saw my dad smile. Then came the toast. He raised his glass, still holding the tickets. To my son, still a disappointment. But hey, at least he's rich now. The laughter was loud, but sharp. My cousin nearly spit out his wine. My uncle leaned in close. His words meant only for me. Luxury gifts don't make up for being a loser. The room carried on like nothing had happened. Not even my mom flinched. Something inside me hardened. I reached across the table, plucked the tickets out of my father's hand, and said evenly, You made your point, consider the gift retracted. His grin fell. What are you doing? But I was already walking out, jaw locked, hands shaking, heart caving in on itself. By morning, I woke up to 67 missed calls, then an unfamiliar number rang. This is Mr. Lambert, the voice said. I'm your father's boss, we need to talk. I wasn't always rich, not even close. 3 years ago, I was sleeping on a mattress above a barbershop, eating ramen 5 nights a week, juggling 3 part-time jobs to survive. No connections, no safety net, just me, my laptop, and the drive that came from years of being told I was nothing. You always quit too soon, my dad sneered when I dropped out of college. You never finish anything. He never asked why, not about the panic attacks, the debt, the nights I prayed not to fail another class. To him, I was just weak. Meanwhile, my brother Todd, the golden boy, finance degree, hedge fund internship, wedding in Tuscany. Me, the dropout, the disappointment. When I launched my consulting agency, I didn't even tell my dad. I already knew the punchline. You, a CEO? Of what? A lemonade stand. But slowly, painfully, it grew. A mid-size brand hired me, then another, one viral post later, and suddenly I had the kind of clients I used to dream about. I made every mistake possible, but I kept going. Soon I had a new car, a better apartment, a vacation. And that's when they started noticing me again. My dad's first compliment in years. Looks like you finally figured out how not to screw everything up. He laughed. I didn't. Still, I kept trying. Part of me still wanted him proud. Last year, I even paid off their mortgage, quietly wired the money. Mom cried. Dad said, that's the least you could do after all we've put into you. Put into me? All I remembered was sarcasm, emotional neglect, and being the family's punchline. Growing up, Dad didn't hit, he humiliated. Every win was luck. Every step forward was met with, don't get cocky. And Uncle Tom, the same one who whispered at dinner, was always worse. A man who never held a job more than a year, always drunk, always crashing at our house, yet somehow he earned respect. You know what they called me when I started freelancing? Laptop Larry. It was the running joke at BBQs. Look, there's Larry with his screen again. Let the real men talk about real jobs. I remember one night I brought over whiskey to celebrate a big deal. Uncle Tom sneered. What did you do? Scam someone? Dad laughed, adding, probably made a slideshow about feelings and charged 10 grand. They never asked what I actually did, never asked about the hustle, the late nights, the years of scraping by. But you know what they did ask for? Money, favors, always with guilt. Can you spot me for car repairs? Your cousin needs tuition. We're short on taxes, just this once. Family helps family. Except when I needed help, no one was there. When I pawned my guitar to make rent, silence. When I skipped meals to pay off loans, I was dramatic. When I broke down in the garage one Christmas, Dad walked in, saw me sobbing, and said, "Man up. No one likes a sob story." And now I'm tolerated. As long as I play the role of the family ATM, the lucky son, the disappointment who happened to get rich. And like a fool, I still thought maybe I could earn his respect. That maybe, just maybe, I'd stop being the punchline. Instead, I walked out of that dinner with the gift back in my hand, a hole in my chest, and the truth ringing louder than ever. I will never be enough for them. That's why I bought those Lakers tickets. $8,000, courtside, for him. Because I remembered the photos of him in his high school jersey, the stories about sneaking a radio into bed to hear the finals. Because despite everything, I thought maybe this would be the moment. Maybe this time he'd look at me the way he looked at Todd. Instead, all I got was the punchline. Still a disappointment, but hey, at least he's rich now. That one sentence burned hotter than every insult I'd swallowed for 30 years. And the kicker? When I took the tickets back, no one said a word. Not Mom, not even Todd. Like it made sense, like I had overreacted, like I wasn't allowed to finally stand up for myself. But the phone calls the next morning told a different story. 67 missed calls from Dad, 5 from Mom, 12 from Todd, and 1 voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Mr. Lambert, your father's supervisor at Westfield Automotive. He's asked that I speak with you urgently." At first I thought it was a prank. Who gets a call from their father's boss over basketball tickets? But Lambert's voice was all business. "Your father's having a difficult morning," he said carefully. "He came into work extremely upset, mentioned a family issue. He asked me to call and mediate." Mediate what? A situation involving Lakers tickets. I almost laughed. He had sent his boss to do damage control. Then Lambert added, "He said he's too ashamed to call again." His words were, "I screwed everything up." Minutes later Mom called. "Your father didn't sleep last night. He was crying." That stopped me. My father, crying. "He's not well," she whispered. "He said you're about to ruin his life." Ruin his life? By taking back tickets? He thinks you'll go public, that you'll humiliate him. And that's when it hit me. He wasn't ashamed of hurting me. He was scared of being seen for who he really is. I drove straight to Westfield Automotive, walked into the showroom like I owned the place. My dad was in his office, pale, hunched over, coffee trembling in his hand. When he saw me, his voice cracked. "Jesus, you came. You called your boss?" I asked flatly. I panicked. I thought maybe he could talk to you. Talk me into what? Giving the tickets back? Apologizing for standing up for myself? I didn't mean what I said. He stammered. It was a joke. A bad one. Everyone was looking at me. "You've had 30 years of practice making me the joke. Dad, don't pretend this was new." He dropped his eyes. "I gave you something priceless," I said, stepping closer, "and you turned it into a punchline. And when I walked out, you didn't follow. You just sat there." I didn't know what to say. He whispered, "You never do, but you always know how to hurt." Then he snapped, voice shaking, "You think walking away makes you strong? You're still that scared little boy who couldn't throw a ball, just richer now." I leaned across his desk. "No, I'm the man who built something from nothing while you mocked me. I'm the man who bought your house, paid your debt, and offered you the dream night of your life. And I'm the man who took it back because you never once valued me beyond what I could give you." His face flushed red. "You're twisting everything." "No," I said, "I'm finally saying it clearly." That's when Mr. Lambert opened the door. "Everything okay?" I turned to him. "You should know something about the man running this place. He humiliates the people closest to him. His son buys him the gift of a lifetime, and he toasts him as a disappointment. He's lucky I'm not a journalist. He'd be trending by now." My dad lurched up from his chair. "Don't you dare embarrass me." I cut him off. "You embarrassed yourself." Silence. I looked him dead in the eyes. "You want respect? Earn it. Don't ever call me again to fix the messes you make." And I walked out. That week, I ignored every call. The voicemails went from "please call me" to "you're acting childish" to "worry your family whether you like it or not." I turned my phone off, and for the first time in my life, the silence wasn't punishment, it was peace. No pit in my stomach, no endless calculations on how to earn his approval. Just me eating, sleeping, working out, even taking a weekend trip, alone. but not lonely. 5 days later, curiosity made me check my phone again. 73 missed calls, dozens of voicemails. I listened to one. Son, I know I screwed up. I've never been good with words, but I didn't mean it. Please don't let this be the end of us. I'm sorry. But I didn't call him back, because I realized he wasn't sorry for the insult. He was sorry it finally cost him something. And the final mask ripped off 2 weeks later, when my mother showed up at my door, holding a casserole dish like it was still 1950. Your father hasn't been the same, she said softly. He hasn't eaten, he hasn't slept, he's falling apart. I let her talk. I didn't argue, I didn't comfort. Because I finally understood, their chaos was not my responsibility. And walking away wasn't weakness. It was freedom. The call came on a Tuesday. He'd missed work again. Lambert, his boss, told me he was thinking about retiring early, not because he wanted to, but because he couldn't keep it together anymore. And so she showed up at my door. I leaned against the frame, arms crossed. So now you're here, I said slowly, because he's finally spiraling and no one's there to clean it up. Her jaw tightened. No, she snapped, a little too quickly. I'm here because you're his son. I let out a short, humorless laugh. And when I was buying him gifts and paying his mortgage, that made me what? His credit card? Her mouth opened, closed, no words came. Silence filled the space between us. I could hear the faint hum of traffic down the street, the tick of the kitchen clock inside. It felt like time itself was pausing, waiting for her to come up with something that wasn't an excuse. Finally, I leaned back. You came to guilt me into forgiveness, not to understand. I came because I love you, she said, her voice catching. No, I corrected, my tone even but firm. You came because I was useful, or I was. The moment I set boundaries, I became the villain. She blinked rapidly, swiping at her eyes like she couldn't believe the scene unfolding in front of her. But I wasn't finished. I gave him everything, I said, my words sharp: time, money, respect, and all he ever gave back was mockery. And now that I've walked away, you want me to fix the damage you let him cause? Her face twisted. You think it was easy for me? She hissed suddenly, living with that man? Watching him break you down while I tried to hold this family together? Oh, so now you were the silent martyr? My voice rose as I stood, the anger bubbling up after years of swallowing it. You sat at every dinner table. You heard every insult, every cruel joke. You even laughed at some. And not once did you say, Bill, stop. Not once. You don't get to play innocent now. Her shoulders sagged under the weight of truth she didn't want to face. I'm not here to defend him, she whispered. I'm here to ask if there's a way back. I stared at her for a long moment, the kind of silence that feels like it could split the air. No, I said at last, my voice steady. There's a way forward, but it doesn't include him dragging me backwards. She looked broken then, truly broken, and for a second, I thought I'd feel powerful, vindicated, maybe even triumphant, but I didn't. I only felt free. The real breaking point came a week later. Another knock at the door. I opened it, and there he was, my father. But not the man I grew up with, not the man who puffed his chest at every chance, who mocked me when I stumbled, who measured affection in sarcasm and derision. This man looked emptied, his eyes were bloodshot, he'd lost weight, his clothes hung loose, like the arrogance had been wrung right out of him. He didn't speak at first, just stood there, shifting on the step. Finally, he muttered, I lost the tickets. I frowned. What? He pulled a crumpled envelope from his jacket, holding it like it weighed 100 pounds. I kept them in my drawer, even after you took them. Like some part of me thought, maybe if I said the right thing, you'd give them back, but I lost them. I shook my head. I don't care. He nodded, eyes cast down. I know, I didn't come for those. And then words I never thought I'd hear spill from his mouth. I was a cruel man to you, your whole life. I thought if I pushed you hard enough, mocked you just enough, you'd try harder, that you'd prove me wrong. My stomach twisted. You think that's love? No, his voice cracked. I think that was cowardice. For the first time, he didn't tower, he didn't loom, he just sank onto the step outside my door like gravity had finally claimed him. I don't know how to fix this, he said quietly. I don't even know if it can be fixed, but I want you to know, I see it now. I see you. And I hate that it took losing you to get there. He reached into his coat and pulled out an old, faded photo, me at 9 years old, grinning wide with 2 missing teeth, clutching a basketball like it was treasure. I keep this in my wallet, he murmured. Used to look at it and wonder what happened, now I realize. I happened. The photo shook in his hands, my chest ached, but the tears never came. I didn't yell, I didn't slam the door, I didn't crumble. I just looked at him and said the truest thing I've ever spoken. That boy deserved better. And I closed the door. A week later, the silence settled in, thick and heavy, like dust in a house no one lives in anymore. No more calls, no more visits, no more guilt dressed up as love. And you know what? I didn't miss them. I thought I would. I thought I'd lie awake, second guessing, wondering if I was wrong. But I didn't, not once, because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the broken one. I felt like the only sane person who finally stepped out of a burning building and let it collapse without running back inside. My therapist, I finally got one, asked me something in our first session that stuck. Do you grieve the father you had? She asked. Or the father you wished you had? I didn't even hesitate. The one I wished I had, I said, because the one I had. I never truly knew him, I only knew who I had to be to survive him. She nodded, her expression soft. Then your grief, she said, isn't an ending, it's a rebirth. And she was right. Because in losing them, I finally found myself.